What if Anakin told Ki-Adi-Mundi about Palpatine instead of Mace Windu? We pick up with Anakin rushing out of Palpatine's office after learning the truth. Let's begin. Anakin Skywalker left the Chancellor's office, his mind shattered by revelation. Palpatine, mentor, confidant, friend, was Darth Sidious. The Sith Lord they had hunted across the galaxy now commanded the Republic from within. His footsteps marked his passage through the corridor as he confronted this impossible truth. The Coruscant sky burned orange through the sweeping transparent steel panels as Anakin's speeder cut across traffic lanes toward the Jedi Temple. He needed to find Master Windu immediately. The fate of the Republic, of the entire galaxy, hinged on his next actions. The temple's main hangar bustled with activity. Maintenance droids scurried between starfighters. Anakin scanned the area for Windu's distinctive presence in the Force. Instead, he felt another familiar signature approaching from his left. Young Skywalker, called Ki-Adi-Mundi, his conical head reflecting the overhead illumination. You seem unsettled. Anakin hesitated. Master Mundi had returned unexpectedly from Maijito. A fortuitous alignment? Or guidance from the Force itself? Neither, in fact. He had simply forgotten his flamethrower at the temple and journeyed back to reclaim it. The ornate weapon now rested at his shoulder, gilded components gleaming under the ambient light. Throughout the temple, whispers trailed the Jedi Master, tales of his interrogation sessions, where the distinctive hiss of his flamethrower preceded confessions. Some council masters privately speculated whether Mundi practiced Force immolation, an ancient technique said to enhance one's connection to the Force through ceremonial fire offerings. This arcane practice, attributed to the ancient master burn you to death, remained officially denounced, yet persistently rumored. Whether any of these tales held truth, Anakin lacked both time and inclination to investigate. What mattered now was that Mundi's centuries of experience might provide guidance in this moment of crisis. Perhaps their paths had intersected at this precise moment for purposes beyond coincidence. Master Mundi, Anakin managed, his voice constricted. I have discovered something about Chancellor Palpatine. Mundi adjusted the flamethrower unit strapped across his back. Forgotten this on my last deployment, he explained, noticing Anakin's glance. Now, what about our esteemed Chancellor? Anakin drew a deep breath. He's Darth Sidious. Mundi's expression remained unchanged for a moment. Then, to Anakin's surprise, he laughed, a genuine cascading sound that filled the hangar's vast space. Chancellor Palpatine, a Sith Lord, Mundi's amusement continued. Anakin, Sith have been extinct for a millennium. Palpatine is merely a political idealist with ambition, nothing more. But Master, he knows the ways of the Force. He's been trained to use the dark side. Mundi's eyebrow raised slightly. Did you witness him manipulate the Force? Channel dark energies? Wield a lightsaber? Well, no, Anakin admitted. He just said it. Typical politician, Mundi sighed. All lies to manipulate people toward their agenda. The Senate chambers overflow with such tactics daily. Anakin's certainty wavered, but he knew about my vision, about someone close to me dying. Ah, the one concerning Senator Amidala? Mundi asked casually. Anakin's jaw tightened. How did you... Master Yoda shared it on the Council's Masters-Only holochat group, Mundi explained, then added with a dismissive gesture. We all assumed the vision involved your senator. Mundi then detailed how he had suggested adding Anakin to the exclusive communication channel despite his technical rank. But Windu had proved characteristically inflexible about membership criteria. Anakin's mind raced. But how would the Chancellor know about my visions unless he has her residence under surveillance? Mundi completed. Or employs informants? The Chancellor commands intelligence networks that span the galaxy, Anakin. Such knowledge requires no mystical explanation. The logic of this penetrated Anakin's confusion. He had told Padme about the vision, if her apartment contained listening devices. He also spoke of a Sith legend, Anakin continued, his expression intensifying with sudden urgency. Darth Plagueis the Wise, who could prevent people from dying. He leaned forward, emphasizing the point as though he had just produced irrefutable evidence of Palpatine's true nature. Mundi's eyes gleamed with intellectual superiority. The Holonet teems with such fabrications, Anakin. Edgy, cringe-inducing forums dedicated to Sith lore invent new absurdities daily. He leaned closer, his voice dropping conspiratorially. Did you know about Darth Darthius the Mouthful? Lost both hands as a child, yet mastered lightsaber combat using only his mouth. His apprentice eventually defeated him by coating his lightsaber hilt with poison. Or was it glue? I fail to recall. That's ridiculous, Anakin said. Precisely my point, Mundi replied. Anyone can invent Sith legends. Anakin's certainty continued to crumble. Could he have misinterpreted everything? The Chancellor's words, his own fears, all manipulated by a politician's cunning rather than Sith machinations? And Anakin, Force visions only manifest if acted upon, Mundi continued, his tone softening. Simply avoid dwelling on it, and Senator Amidala will remain perfectly safe. As for Palpatine, many who fancy themselves connected to ancient powers merely seek importance. The galaxy contains countless individuals who embrace darkness theatrically, claiming the light disgusts them, or some equally tiresome declaration. Perhaps the Chancellor suffers from delusions rather than malice. Mundi adjusted his flamethrower again. I suggest you focus on what truly matters, not the Chancellor's peculiar fantasies. Perhaps go visit one of your wives, Anakin. I only have one, Master, Anakin replied automatically. Mundi laughed. More restrained than me, then. I must meet Master Windu in the hangar before departing. I'll mention your concerns, though I suspect he'll find them equally amusing. As Mundi strode away, Anakin remained motionless, his priorities shifting. Perhaps he had been manipulated, not by a Sith Lord, but by a mentally ill politician desperate to maintain his influence. Ki-Adi-Mundi proceeded toward the far edge of the main hangar bay, where incoming vessels typically docked. He sensed Anakin's Force signature receding away from their meeting point, the young Jedi's turbulent emotions noticeably calmer now. Evidently, his redirection toward domestic matters had proven effective. Mundi positioned himself near the atmospheric barrier just as a Republic gunship descended through the force field. Master Windu emerged, followed by Kit Fisto, Agen Kolar, and Saisi Teen, their expressions grim but satisfied. Master Mundi, Windu acknowledged with a slight nod. You caught us earlier than expected. Mundi patted his flamethrower. Retrieval mission accomplished. How was your meeting with the Chancellor? Productive, Windu replied. With Grievous dead, Palpatine has agreed to relinquish his emergency powers. He mentioned certain legal issues requiring resolution once particular elements are set in motion, but the process has begun. How diplomatic of him, Mundi remarked, then added with theatrical seriousness. Perhaps he's distracted by his secret identity as a Sith Lord. Windu froze. What did you say? Skywalker approached me a while ago, quite distressed. Claims Palpatine confessed to be a Sith Lord. Ridiculous, naturally. Sith have been extinct for a millennium, Windu finished, his expression transforming. Where is Skywalker now? I advised he go spend time with his wives. The boy seemed exhausted by the war. Why? Surely you don't believe... We must act immediately, Windu declared. Palpatine is too dangerous to be left alive. Mundi blinked in surprise. You can't seriously... Master Fisto, Kolar, Teen, Windu called. We return to the Chancellor's office. Now. This is absurd, Mundi protested, but found himself following nonetheless. If you truly believe this fantasy, I suppose I should witness the confrontation myself. Chancellor Palpatine's office appeared transformed in the nocturnal gloom. The circular chamber, dominated by its panoramic viewport overlooking Coruscant's illuminated cityscape, retained its austere elegance, but something fundamental had altered. Several empty decanters cluttered the floor near one of the pod-like chairs. Their contents, a potent mixture of Nubian wine and refined destic fluid, evidently consumed in frustrated anticipation. Palpatine slumped in the central chair, fingers drumming an erratic pattern against the integrated control panel. His meticulously maintained appearance had deteriorated. Ceremonial robes twisted awkwardly around his frame, silver hair jutting at incongruous angles. He muttered calculations and contingencies under his breath, his grand design faltering at its critical juncture. Hours had passed since Anakin's discovery, yet no Jedi assault had materialized to trigger his contingency orders. The elaborate mechanism of his decades-long scheme now hung suspended, neither advancing nor collapsing, and the Supreme Chancellor of the Republic had resorted to chemical consolation. The chamber doors parted as the 5 Jedi Masters entered. Palpatine attempted to rotate his chair toward them with characteristic flair. The movement proved too ambitious. The chair tilted sharply, depositing the Chancellor onto the polished floor in an undignified heap. Windu maintained his stern composure, interpreting the display as potentially some elaborate Sith deception. Behind him, Mundi folded his hands at his back, the corner of his mouth twitching with barely contained amusement. Master Jedi, Palpatine greeted from his position on the floor, his precise diction fractured by intoxication. He attempted to rise, his limbs uncoordinated and rebellious against his commands. After several undignified efforts, he abandoned the attempt. Returned so soon, the legal documents aren't prepared yet. Nothing has been set in motion. In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, Windu declared, you are under arrest, Chancellor. Palpatine gripped the edge of the control console, his knuckles widening as he pulled himself upward through sheer force of will. His legs wobbled precariously, and twice he nearly collapsed before achieving something that technically qualified as standing. Though his posture resembled a malfunctioning protocol droid more than the dignified statesman he portrayed in public broadcasts. Palpatine's eyes narrowed. "Are you threatening me, Master Jedi?" "The Senate will decide your fate," Windu declared.
"The Senate can sock me,"
Palpatine managed. Mundi exchanged glances with Fisto. This was their feared Sith Lord? A drunken old man playing at power? Palpatine's hand moved suddenly to his sleeve, producing a lightsaber hilt of unusual design. The crimson blade that erupted confirmed Windu's suspicions. Mundi's eyes widened slightly, though his mind immediately catalogued the weapon as an elaborate replica, likely purchased from one of those late-night HoloNet advertisements targeting the elderly and gullible. With weapon in hand, Palpatine then attempted his signature corkscrew leap, a technique that had executed countless Jedi throughout history, but his ceremonial robe tangled around his legs, mid-air. The Sith Lord's trajectory veered sharply. Mundi watched in horrified fascination as Palpatine's own lightsaber carved through the side of his skull before clattering to the floor. Darth Sidious, master manipulator, architect of the Clone Wars, would-be emperor, collapsed to the side of his chair, alive, but instantly reduced to unintelligible gurgles. The Republic Medical Center established an entire security wing for the former Chancellor. Medical droids monitored his condition constantly, while armed Senate guards patrolled the perimeter. Brain trauma of this magnitude typically proves fatal, the chief medical droid reported to the gathered Jedi Council members. However, the Chancellor's physiology demonstrates remarkable resilience. He remains technically alive, though higher cognitive functions appear irreparably damaged. "And his midi-chlorian count?" Mundi inquired, his scientific curiosity finally overriding his skepticism. The medical droid's optical sensors flickered as it retrieved the data. 15,000 per cell, Master Jedi, well above standard parameters. Mundi's expression remained unreadable, though the flamethrower at his side suddenly felt heavier. The war concluded with surprising speed once control of the clone armies transferred to Jedi oversight. The Separatist leadership, abandoned by their secret master, surrendered within weeks. During this period of rapid transition, a medical facility on Coruscant housed its most classified patient. The Republic's daily intelligence briefings included updates on Palpatine's condition that few were authorized to receive. Physicians monitoring his neural scans noted an anomaly developing. Despite catastrophic damage to his frontal lobe, certain regions showed regenerative properties beyond normal biological parameters. The dark side, it seemed, refused to relinquish its servant so easily. On the 23rd night of his confinement, the power grid fluctuated throughout the medical sector. Emergency generators activated, casting the corridors in crimson emergency illumination. Within his chamber, Palpatine's lips moved continuously, forming fragments of plans never executed, orders never given. Execute 66, dark side, power, unlimited. The damaged speech centers produced only disconnected phrases, his once brilliant mind unable to form coherent sequences. Outside the chamber, the Senate guards maintained their vigilance, unaware of the invisible compound filtering through the ventilation system. One by one, they slumped against the walls, consciousness receding. The surveillance system flickered, its feed replaced by a looping image of an empty corridor. The door slid open with a pneumatic hiss. At first, Palpatine's damaged visual cortex registered only a silhouette, tall, elongated, with a distinctive conical apex. The shape approached the foot of the medical bed, materializing into something his fractured memory struggled to identify. "The Sith have been extinct for a millennium," the figure pronounced, each word delivered with clinical precision. Palpatine's damaged neurological system failed to generate appropriate fear responses. His autonomic functions maintained their steady rhythm even as the distinctive ignition sequence of a flamethrower mechanism filled the chamber. The liquid fire engulfed him completely. Nerve endings registered extreme thermal variation, but the damaged connection between sensory input and cognitive processing prevented comprehension of his situation. The flames consumed surgical dressings, dermal tissue, and eventually vital organs. Ki-Adi-Mundi observed the process without expression. Fire illuminated his features from below, casting elongated shadows across the ceiling as he ensured complete immolation. Flames reflected in his eyes, eyes that had witnessed centuries of galactic history and would not permit its darkest chapter to continue. When only carbonized remains occupied the bed, Mundi extracted a thermal detonator from his robes. With the casual precision of extensive practice, He calibrated its yield to eliminate all evidence while preserving structural integrity of adjacent wings. The transparent steel viewport shattered under a precise application of force energy. Mundi leapt into the Coruscant night, his silhouette vanishing among countless air traffic lanes. As the detonation erased all evidence of his intervention. 3 months later, Senator Amidala accepted her appointment as Chancellor of the Galactic Republic. Standing beside her, Jedi Master Anakin Skywalker projected an image of devoted protection. Behind closed doors, however, they had already drafted plans to transform the Republic into an empire. With loyal senators and a compliant Jedi Order at their disposal, the transition would require minimal effort, particularly given the legendary gullibility of both the Senate and general populace. Master Yoda, observing the inauguration from the council chamber, fumed silently. His diminutive green hands periodically formed strangling motions whenever Mundi entered his field of vision. The ancient master had spent weeks perfecting his pillow suffocation technique on training dummies, only to be robbed of his opportunity by Mundi's flamethrower theatrics. And so they all lived happily ever after. The end.